Are you sure you want to get married on the 7th, Sophia? I asked, my voice steady despite the tremor I felt deep inside. I'm sure, Liam. The 7th it is. Her voice came through the phone, clear and certain from the other side of the world. I'll finish up my work here in New Zealand and fly over to marry you. After we hung up, I leaned back on the sofa, a strange sense of unreality washing over me. If someone had told me 6 months ago that I would be planning to marry a woman I'd known for less than half a year, I would have called them crazy. Everyone who knew me knew that my one and only ambition in life, the wish I had nurtured for 12 long years, was to marry Khloe, my childhood crush. Yet here I was, consciously and willingly giving up on that dream to build a new one with someone else. I sat there on the couch, lost in thought, as the television droned on in the background. My eyes flickered to the screen, where a live news broadcast was in full swing. They were interviewing the president of Aura Innovations, Khloe herself. She looked absolutely radiant in a custom-tailored gown, her eyes, as always, giving off an impression of deep, soulful affection that had captivated me for more than a decade. The journalist was asking her a playful question. Now that we've discussed the future of Aura Innovations, can we get a little personal, Miss Vance? The men of this city consider you their dream girl, so I have to dig a little for them. Khloe gave a quiet, graceful nod. Go ahead. Well, Miss Vance, the journalist continued, leaning in conspiratorially, it's been reported that you purchased a luxury villa and a 10-carat blue diamond last month, a stone that symbolizes eternal love. Is there some good news you'd like to share with us? The air in the studio seemed to hold its breath, waiting for her answer. Without a flicker of hesitation, Khloe smiled. Yes, she said. There was a boy who dedicated his entire youth to me, and I made a promise to him that I would marry him before I turned 30. His 30th birthday is in 7 days, and I don't want to make him wait any longer. Her decisive words created an immediate uproar. The news spread like wildfire, quickly making headlines across every major outlet. Khloe Vance's public confession, one blared. Aura Innovations CEO's wedding just 7 days away, another screamed. All the news feeds were suddenly dominated by topics about her impending marriage. As soon as the news broke, my phone started buzzing with messages from old friends. They were all congratulating me, celebrating that I had finally achieved my lifelong dream. After all, I had once joked with Khloe, I'll wait for you until I'm 30. If you don't marry me by then, I'll give up and you won't have me anymore. They had no way of knowing that the man she intended to marry was not me. My parents and Khloe's were next-door neighbors, so we had grown up in each other's pockets. I had been in love with her for 12 years. The depth of that love was something I could hardly quantify. In high school, a single word from her was enough for me to turn down a guaranteed admission to a top-tier university just so I could attend the college she preferred. After we graduated, I gave up a promising career with a starting salary of $300,000 a year to help her start her own business. I had invested 12 years of my life, my youth, and my future in Khloe, operating under the naive belief that true love would eventually conquer all. But half a month ago, the illusion had shattered. I discovered that the luxury villa and the breathtaking blue diamond were not for me. They were gifts for a man named Ethan. The realization of how utterly foolish I had been for 12 years hit me like a physical blow. In 7 days, it would be my 30th birthday, and the woman Khloe wanted to marry wasn't me. So, I made a decision. I would not waste another second of my life on her. It was already late when Khloe returned to the apartment. As her assistant from the very beginning of her startup days, I had managed not just her professional life, but all the trivialities of her personal one as well. We were practically inseparable, and to make our work lives easier, I had even moved into her spacious apartment. At that moment, I was sitting on the couch, looking over a suit I had chosen for my own wedding in 7 days, talking on the phone with the tailor to finalize the details. Khloe, returning from a social event, seemed slightly surprised. I didn't immediately jump up to greet her or take her coat, as I usually did. Instead, I was engrossed in my phone call. She caught stray words like suit and wedding. Standing in the entryway, she massaged her temples, a flicker of annoyance in her expression. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Didn't you see me come home?" I lowered my phone, glancing at her without saying a word, then simply said, "I saw you come back." Her brow furrowed with displeasure. She held out her expensive coat to me, a familiar gesture born of long habit. She was accustomed to my constant care. Normally, I would have taken her coat and immediately prepared it for washing the moment she walked in the door. But this time, I calmly refused. "The washing machine is over there," I said, my voice even. "If you want it washed, you can do it yourself." I had always been compliant, never once refusing a request from her. This sudden, unexpected refusal made Khloe's alcohol-tinted eyes narrow. She gave me a long, probing look, trying to figure out what was wrong. She couldn't put her finger on it, but she sensed that something fundamental had shifted between us. On the surface, I appeared as normal as ever, with no outward display of anger or strange emotions. Khloe sighed in frustration. "This is a custom piece. It has to be hand-washed." "Then you should take it to the laundry," I replied flatly. Being refused repeatedly made her temper flare. She yanked at her tie in irritation, her voice turning cold and sharp. "What has gotten into you today, Liam?" I opened my mouth to respond, but then closed it. I realized that arguing was pointless. There was simply nothing left to say. Without another word, I turned and went back to my room. As I closed the door, I overheard her making a call outside. I didn't want to listen, but the apartment's poor soundproofing meant I could catch every word she said through the cracked door. Khloe's smooth voice was laced with an arrogant amusement. "I came home to find Liam sorting through suits. Does he actually think I'm going to marry him on his 30th birthday because of what I said in that live interview? That was just something I said to appease the journalists. The truth is, I promised Ethan I would marry him in 7 days." On the other end of the line, someone must have asked her why she didn't just tell me the truth. Khloe let out a cold chuckle, her beauty seeming even sharper in its mocking tone. "Would you throw away a free helper who has served you for over 10 years just like that? If I'm going to leave him, it'll be after I marry Ethan. What if he finds out? Please." "I've hidden it so well he'll never know. And even if he does, so what? He's so completely in love with me that all it will take is a crooked finger to bring him back to my side. How much trouble could he possibly cause? I'm telling you, don't you dare spill the beans." I had heard enough. I retreated into my room, my heart feeling like it had been encased in a block of ice. I finally saw the truth with painful clarity. To her, I was nothing more than an obedient puppy, a loyal pet who could be easily won over with a simple promise or a scrap of affection. I couldn't believe I hadn't seen the reality sooner. I knew she wouldn't marry me, yet I had trailed after her like a shadow for 12 long years. In those 12 years, I had confessed my love to her 9,999 times. I should have understood from each one of her gentle rejections that she simply didn't love me and never would. Luckily, I had finally woken up from my delusion of being her devoted puppy. In just 7 days, I would leave her for good and marry someone else. The next morning, I went to the office with a single purpose: to submit my resignation. After Khloe graduated from college, she had talked about starting her own business. No one believed in her vision except for me. I put my own ambitions aside to help her build hers. She had promised me that once she succeeded, she would repay me for my faith and hard work. Trusting her confident promises, I gave up a high-paying job that was worth $300,000 a year. When she lacked startup funding, I was the one who hustled to find investors for her. When no one would give her company a chance, I was the one who scouted projects for her. I stood by her side as we built everything from scratch, turning a fledgling idea into a billion-dollar business. And yet, even after all that, I remained just an assistant, earning a meager $8,000 a month. Back then, I was so blinded by my love for her that I didn't mind being an $8,000 a month assistant. But now, since I had decided to leave her and marry someone else, there was no reason to stick around for that paltry paycheck. In the president's office, I printed out my resignation letter and took it to Khloe for her signature. Before signing, perhaps remembering her harsh words from the day before, she unexpectedly tossed a small gift box in my direction. "Here," she said. "Your birthday is in a few days. This is for you." I took the gift box she offered and opened it. Inside was a simple gold necklace. Before, a gift like this from her would have thrilled me beyond words, but now I just felt a profound sense of calm. I knew this necklace was the freebie that had been thrown in with the $50 million blue diamond she had purchased for Ethan. In her eyes, I was worth only the freebies, like a dog that would be happy with any old bone thrown its way. Khloe seemed to expect that I would be speechless with joy, but my face showed no emotion at all. My odd behavior over the past couple of days made her frown. She was about to say something, but I slid the resignation papers in front of her. "There's a document here that needs your signature." Trusting me implicitly, as she always had, she assumed it was just another important contract and signed it without so much as a glance. But just as I was about to leave with the signed document in hand, she seemed to sense that something was off. "What did I just sign?" she asked, a hint of suspicion in her voice. Not wanting to get into a long explanation, I just waved it off casually. "Oh, nothing significant. Just some regular papers." "Oh, right. I'm taking a few days off. I won't be coming into work." After all, now that I had officially resigned, I didn't need to come in anymore. "Okay," she said, nodding without much thought. She probably didn't want me continually running into her official fiancé at the office, which could cause unnecessary trouble. Suddenly recalling something, she added, "Once your break is over, make sure you come back soon. There are a ton of big projects waiting for you to help me negotiate." I murmured a vague acknowledgement. What Khloe didn't realize was that my resignation meant I was never coming back. After being her assistant for so many years, I was just utterly and completely exhausted. I turned to leave. As I reached the front desk on my way out, I ran into Khloe's future husband, a receptionist named Ethan. He was surrounded by a group of fawning colleagues, holding up his fair right hand to show off his new jewelry. "This ring," he announced proudly, "was bought at an auction by my fiancé. It cost a solid $50 million. Beautiful, right? You've probably never seen such expensive jewelry in your lives, so take this chance to feast your eyes." The diamond ring was indeed dazzling, but Ethan was just a receptionist at the company, a mere decorative figure. His background was quite ordinary. Everyone was wondering how he had ever managed to land a rich partner and come to own such a costly ring. They were all looking at him skeptically. "That can't be real, can it?" one person whispered. "Come on, 50 million? Stop joking around, Ethan." Hearing their doubts, Ethan's face turned red. He retorted stiffly, "It's not fake. Don't spout nonsense." Feeling prickled by their skepticism, he suddenly seemed to remember something and hurriedly pulled a housing deed out of his bag, slapping it down on the table. "Besides this $50 million ring, my fiancé also bought me a house in Jiangnan, Shuiwan. Go on, see for yourselves." His colleagues gathered around curiously, flipping through the housing deed. Sure enough, it was for a house in the exclusive Jiangnan Shuiwan district. A wave of envy washed over the group. "Wow, Ethan, you've really hit the big time. Which wealthy family did you marry into?" one of them asked, pressing him for details. But Ethan just smiled mysteriously, saying that everyone would soon know who he was marrying. Others might not have known, but I did. Ethan was marrying Khloe. If I remembered correctly, he was a junior from her college and had been hired during the first year of Aura Innovations, handpicked by Khloe herself. Back then, she had wanted to make him her new assistant. But no matter how much I trained him, he couldn't even manage the simplest tasks, like stamping documents correctly, never mind taking on the high-stakes project negotiations that I handled with ease. It wasn't long before Khloe gave up on the idea of him being her assistant and moved him to the receptionist desk, where he could serve as decoration. The irony was crushing. This decorative piece had somehow ended up beating me, winning over the woman I had devoted my life to. For 12 years, I had been braving storms for her, fighting on the front lines, while all Ethan needed to do was stand there and look pretty to get everything I had striven for and could never attain. A chill ran down my spine as I thought about all my devoted efforts for the company and all my care for Khloe, all of it turning into a grand, elaborate joke, just clothing for someone else's wedding. As the others continued to probe Ethan for information, Khloe suddenly showed up. "What are you all gathered around for? Isn't there work to do?" Hearing her voice, everyone scattered and returned to their desks. Khloe turned to me. "Weren't you taking a break? Why are you still here?" "Oh," I said casually. "I just overheard the receptionist talking about getting married. I thought I'd drop by to congratulate him." Upon hearing that, Khloe frowned. "He didn't say who he's marrying, did he?" "Nope." "Why?" she asked, a little too quickly. "Nothing, just wondering." Hearing my answer, she seemed to visibly relax. "Selena," she said, her tone shifting back to business. "No need to make dinner and wait for me tonight. I'm heading out with friends for drinks and will probably be back late. And since you won't be making dinner, just go home and finish the bidding proposal for that new project. I don't trust anyone else with it." Even knowing I was on leave, she still ordered me around. She was putting on quite an act, pretending so well, even while hiding the fact that she was going to marry someone else. She was determined to squeeze every last bit of value out of me, but I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction anymore. I didn't respond. Khloe noticed my silence, furrowing her brows as she urged, "Did you hear me?" I remained silent, turning away from her and leaving without another word. Under her watchful gaze, I walked away. Watching my retreating figure, Khloe frowned. Was it her imagination? Or was I getting stranger and stranger? But then, she probably thought about how I had liked her for 12 long years, always so eager for her attention. She likely figured that just a smile and a little bit of flattery would be enough to bring me back in line. The thought seemed to oddly put her mind at ease. I returned to the apartment, gazing at the place that had become a second home to me. I decided then and there to pack up everything. I wasn't going to stay a moment longer than necessary. I needed to clear out of this place and leave it for its future owner. From noon until late into the night, I packed my belongings into several large suitcases. The night wore on, and my stomach growled with hunger. Just as I was about to go grab a bite to eat, my phone buzzed. I answered it to hear one of Khloe's friends, her voice authoritative and demanding. "Liam, Khloe's drunk. Bring some hangover medicine to room 5 at the night bar." Before I could even respond, she hung up, as if it was a foregone conclusion that I would come running. I didn't want to go, but then I remembered that I had left some things in the apartment storage unit. To fully clear out all of my stuff, I needed the key that Khloe still held. After some thought, I dragged my tired body out the door. When I pushed open the door to the private room at the bar, I was greeted by the teasing laughter of Khloe's friends. "See? I told you he'd come. Our Khloe is here, and he just can't stay away." Khloe was lounging in the main seat, taking a sip of her drink. She pointed to someone on the couch and laughed. "I win this round. Remember, whoever loses pays for tonight's drinks. Betting against a sure winner, that's gutsy of you." Hearing her words, I immediately understood what was happening. Khloe wasn't drunk at all. They had just made a bet on whether or not I would show up. They had played this cruel game several times before. Once, they had tricked me into rushing over by pretending Khloe had been in a car accident. I had arrived, frantic with worry, only to find her perfectly fine, laughing with her friends as I stood there, shaking with fury. Since then, Khloe and her friends seemed to love using me for their amusement. They clearly didn't expect that even after all those times I would still come. The one who had lost the bet groaned from the couch, berating me. "Why are you such a sucker, Liam? Always showing up at a single call, even in the middle of the night. Do you have no pride?" Another girl chimed in. "Hey, that's too harsh. You know how much Liam adores our Khloe. He's been following her for over a decade. Calling him a dog is kind of mean." Then she laughed maliciously, adding, "Saying he's just a simp is more like it." Their derisive laughter and scornful eyes stung. Khloe merely watched the drama unfold, not making any move to stop it. Though she had prepared to calm me down as she usually did, she instead noticed my calm breathing and the way my eyes rested on her. "The storage key, please," I said simply. Khloe frowned, not reaching for the key. Instead, she approached me. "Are you upset? You look a bit cold." She paused, then added, "They were just joking, Liam. Don't take it to heart. They meant no harm. I can have them apologize. It's no big deal." I simply replied, "Oh," with very little reaction. Taken aback by my flat response, Khloe shrugged it off and waved her friends over. "He's mad. Hurry up and apologize." A chorus of half-hearted sorries filled the air, lacking any sincerity. My expression remained unchanged, my eyes still fixed on Khloe. "The key." Surprised at my calm demeanor, Khloe felt that I seemed different, though she couldn't quite figure out how. But she reassured herself, thinking that as much as I liked her, I couldn't have changed that much. Feeling that it was all in her head, she retrieved the key from her pocket. I took it from her and turned to leave. As I exited the room, I overheard her friends asking her, "Why'd you make us apologize to that simp Liam?" "You don't get it," Khloe replied, her voice carrying clearly into the hallway. "Liam's been into me for so long. If I always give him the cold shoulder, it would ruin his self-confidence. You need to balance it out. One harsh word, one sweet gesture. It's the only way to keep him devoted." "Right, Khloe, right," they all agreed. Hearing that, I found the whole situation darkly amusing. No wonder every time I was livid with her, Khloe would offer some small gift or a few kind words. Once I was pacified, she would revert to her aloof, distant self. I had naively believed that she had yet to accept me because I still needed to do better. But now, I realized it was never about my efforts. Khloe just wanted to keep me as her loyal, devoted follower. Choosing to marry someone else now felt like the most right and necessary decision I had ever made. Holding the key, I headed downstairs. As I was waiting for a cab, I caught sight of Ethan. He made a quick phone call, and a minute later Khloe herself came down to greet him. She held him close, her voice full of concern. "How come you're out here in the cold?" "I missed you. Is that a problem?" Ethan replied playfully. "No, not at all. Come on in," Khloe said, gently wrapping her arms around him and helping him up the stairs. But after just a few steps, Ethan's shoelaces came undone. Without a moment's hesitation, Khloe knelt down to tie them for him, her eyes filled with a tenderness I had never seen directed at me. I watched her tie his shoelaces, my pupils shrinking in surprise. I was the one who was used to doing these kinds of humble, pleasing tasks for her. I never could have imagined that the always high and mighty Khloe would do such a thing for someone else. One of Khloe's friends, who had come out for a smoke, saw this and was equally shocked. Holy crap! Who would have thought our big boss from Aura Innovations would be on her knees tying someone else's shoes? Khloe seemed annoyed by the comment and ordered her friend to stub out his cigarette. Ethan can't stand the smell of smoke, so if you've got to smoke, do it far away from him, and don't swear around him. If you scare him, you'll regret it. Frightened by Khloe's sharp warning, her friend scurried away. Watching from the back of my cab, I couldn't help but notice how differently Khloe protected Ethan compared to how she had always treated me. Whenever her friends joked around at my expense, Khloe remained indifferent, like an outsider watching a show. But when Ethan was involved, just a single cigarette and a curse word were enough to make her rage seem like it could flay them alive. So what else was there for me not to understand? It was already 2 a.m. by the time I got home. I tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep. Khloe didn't return until the next morning. When she walked in, she immediately noticed that the place felt empty and that many of my belongings had mysteriously disappeared. "Where's your stuff?" she couldn't help but ask. I brushed it off with a simple explanation. "A lot of things were old, so I threw them out." There was nothing technically wrong with what I said, but something still felt off to Khloe. However, with her wedding to Ethan just around the corner, it didn't seem right for me to stay there anyway. Ethan would definitely cry if he knew I was still living with her. He was much more fragile than the ever-strong me. After thinking it through, Khloe calmly stated, "If you're packing up, make sure it's completely done." I nodded silently without any further elaboration. Seeing me so quiet, Khloe bit back whatever else she was going to say. It would be okay, she probably thought. Even if I really had changed, given my deep feelings for her, a little coaxing would be enough to fix everything. Just like when they started the company, a few empty promises would suffice. Of all the men in her life, none were as easy to please as me. Regaining her focus, Khloe directed me. "I drank too much last night. Go make me some hangover soup. I've got to go out soon, and I want something home-cooked." Then she walked away. But before I could move, she grabbed my arm. "Where are you going?" "What?" I retorted, with a question of my own. "You're not making me soup? Did you at least finish last night's bid proposal?" "No," I replied bluntly, shaking off her hand and leaving the apartment. Khloe stood there, her face darkening with frustration. I was getting stranger and stranger. Wasn't I afraid that she would truly leave me? I left to pick up my suit. The wedding was only days away, and I had promised Sophia that I would be there at the courthouse waiting for her, in a suit. So, no suit, no wedding. At the high-end tailor's shop, I asked for the suit I had ordered. The store manager was hesitant, as if there was something difficult he had to say. "What's up? Is there a problem with my suit?" I asked. "Sorry, Liam. Your suit has been ordered by someone else." "I paid a deposit," I said, confused. "How can someone else order it?" "Well, they paid more," the manager began, but I interrupted him. "Who took my suit?" Just then, a sweet voice chimed in as the doorbell rang. "Is my suit ready? I want to try it on." Looking up, I saw Ethan once again. Though we weren't close at work, I knew him quite well personally. He seemed taken aback to see me there. "Liam, what a coincidence. You're getting a suit too?" "Yeah," I replied. "Are you getting married?" he asked. "Yes." From the very beginning at Aura Innovations, I was only ever known as Khloe's assistant. Except for a few of our close friends, nobody knew the real nature of our relationship. Khloe clearly had never mentioned me to Ethan, who just assumed I was only her assistant. "When's your wedding?" Ethan asked excitedly. "The 7th, I replied. "Oh, wow," he exclaimed. "What are the odds? I'm getting married on the 7th, too." Then he curiously asked, "Which suit did you choose, Liam?" I pointed to a heart-patterned suit that was displayed in the window. "That one?" "No way. Same day, same suit. Liam, you've got me curious about your bride," Ethan chuckled. I just smiled and said, "Guess?" Ethan paused slightly, considering something, but quickly changed the subject. Since I had originally ordered the suit and paid a deposit, even though Ethan had offered more money, the manager gave him a refund and gave the suit to me. As Ethan left, he commented bitterly, "What a crappy store. Someday I'll have my wife shut this place down." After he was gone, I picked up my neatly wrapped suit and headed back. In the apartment, Khloe was waiting for me on the couch. She didn't notice the suit bag in my hand. With her brows knitted into a tight furrow, she asked, "Why are you back so late?" "Oh, something came up," I replied casually. Khloe didn't press me on where I had been. Pausing for a moment, she held back her frustration and asked, "The partners are pushing for the bid proposal. When exactly are you going to finish it?" Her tone carried a hint of accusation and anger, as if I had made some huge mistake. I didn't want to argue with her, so I simply said, "I'm on vacation." "So what? Just because you're on vacation you can't work?" she snapped. "This proposal is crucial for the future of Aura Innovations. Do you have any idea how important it is to both me and the company?" she said, slapping the desk in exasperation. I just stared at her, thinking how strange she was being. Sure, the proposal was important to Aura Innovations and to her, but it wasn't important to me, especially since I wasn't even with the company anymore. And even if I were still an employee, couldn't someone else handle it? I kept quiet, just watching her fume. Even though I didn't say a word, my silent gaze seemed to get under her skin. Khloe tried to cool her temper, realizing she might have overreacted. So she softened her tone and walked over to me, putting a hand on my shoulder. "Liam," she said, her voice now gentle. "I know working with me all these years hasn't been easy. Once you finish this proposal, I'll announce to everyone at Aura Innovations that you're being promoted to vice president. You'll be second only to me, practically like the owner of the company. Okay?" If this were the old me, I might have teared up with excitement at her words. But knowing Khloe's ways now, I wasn't moved by her promises anymore. Years ago, I had given up a $300,000 job for her word, and yet I had gotten nothing in return but a string of empty promises. Khloe thought my lack of response meant that I wasn't pleased with her offer. She asked, "Aren't you happy with what I said?" "Yeah," I replied softly, hiding my true feelings. "I'm happy." "Good. Then help me with the proposal like a good boy," she said with a sigh of relief, not noticing the cold detachment in my eyes. Just then, Khloe picked up a call, and I heard a man's voice on the other end. She hung up and quickly left the room without any explanation. Every day, Khloe pressed me about the proposal, but I kept stalling. As the days dragged on, it finally brought us to the day before my 30th birthday. While I was away, Khloe had hired a temporary assistant. The new assistant kept making mistakes, and the office often echoed with Khloe's scolding. "What's wrong with you? If you can't even do this, you're out," she yelled. The assistant, feeling wronged, replied, "These tasks were Liam's before. I'm still figuring things out." Khloe tossed down the papers she was holding, rubbing her temples in frustration. "When is Liam coming back?" "Didn't he quit?" the assistant began to ask, before being interrupted by a familiar face. Ethan cheerfully hugged Khloe. "Khloe, tomorrow's our wedding day. I want it to be special. Let's get the marriage certificate first thing in the morning, okay?" Seeing Ethan, Khloe tried to push aside her work stress, dotingly tapping his nose. "Okay, whatever makes you happy." Ethan gave her a sweet smile and kissed her on the cheek. "You're amazing, Khloe." That night, Khloe thought about things and told me, "Your vacation's over tomorrow, right? Have you got the proposal done? If so, go to the office and send it to the partners. Also, don't come looking for me tomorrow. I've got some things to take care of." She seemed to expect me to react in a certain way, and was prepared for it. Yet I agreed without a single question. This caught her off guard. "Aren't you curious about where I'll be tomorrow?" I just smiled silently. In the past, I would have followed her everywhere because I was so desperately in love with her. Now that I wasn't, her whereabouts meant nothing to me. "Really? Nothing you want to ask?" Khloe probed, staring at me suspiciously. I nodded. "Actually, there is something." "What?" "Khloe, I'm turning 30 tomorrow. Do you remember I said that if you weren't marrying me by then, I'd move on?" "I remember," she said dismissively. "But wasn't that just a joke? Who takes jokes seriously? Besides, with the company just starting to take off, I have no intention of getting married right now." I used to be so infatuated with her. She couldn't possibly imagine me walking away just because I had turned 30. So, she thought it was all just a joke. Seeing that she didn't care, I simply nodded. "I understand." The next morning, Khloe left, all dolled up and looking beautiful. I watched her go, feeling a profound sense of relief that it was finally over. I put on my own suit, left a wedding invitation on the table for her, and walked out the door. "Khloe," I thought, "from now on, you walk your own path, and I'll walk mine. We're done. I won't bother you anymore." After leaving the apartment, I hailed a taxi to the courthouse. My future was ahead of me, and I was ready to find my own happiness. At the courthouse, I didn't see my fiancée yet, but I did bump into Khloe. A group of her friends, likely there to support her, was there too. Seeing me in a suit, they all gave me the same odd looks they always did when I was chasing after Khloe. Their expressions were a mixture of mockery and disdain. I knew they assumed I was there for Khloe again. After all, I had trailed after her for 12 long years, enduring hardship and heartache along the way. Today was my 30th birthday, and they thought I was coming to pressure her into marrying me. When Khloe saw me in a suit, her face darkened. She could barely contain her twisted expression as she fumed. "Didn't I tell you not to come? Are you so desperate to marry me that you're here in a suit to force my hand?" I ignored the anger on her face and said coldly, "I'm not here for you." But Khloe didn't believe me. She looked at me, annoyed. "Have you had enough? If you're not here for me, are you going to go bother another woman?" She was so sure that I was deeply and irrevocably in love with her and could never let her go. One of Khloe's friends gave me a contemptuous look, scanning me up and down. I can't believe it. A guy with absolutely no shame pushing for marriage right at the courthouse. As the seconds ticked by, Ethan should have been arriving any moment. Khloe was worried they'd run into each other, so she quickly shook my hand off her arm and whispered harshly, "If you're smart, you'll leave now, or don't blame me for what happens." I stepped back several times before steadying myself, looking a bit dazed at my bruised wrist. Today is my 30th birthday. "I know, you just want me to marry you on your 30th birthday. But like I've told you, the company is just starting up, and I don't have that in mind right now." "But I can't wait," I said, looking up, my eyes calm. I knew she wouldn't marry me, so my fiancé wasn't her. But what she and her friends heard was me begging Khloe to marry me. Khloe's face turned cold. "Liam, do you understand English? I've said it clearly. I am not marrying you today." "Geez, how can a guy have no self-respect?" her friend mocked, even giving me a push. "Liam, you're really a piece of work. Khloe is unlucky to be stuck with you. If you want to get married on your 30th birthday, just go pick someone else," Khloe said dismissively. "I'm not marrying you." I had loved her so much for so long. How could I possibly choose someone else? She thought this with complete confidence, so she didn't mind using harsh words to provoke me. One of the women who had earlier insulted me watched the scene unfold with amusement, even whistling. "Liam, why not marry me? I'm a bit of a flirt, but I'm really good in bed." The crude joke went right over my head. My expression was cold. "No thanks. I have someone in mind. She just flew in from overseas, so she probably needs a bit more time to get here." My words made Khloe's group of friends burst into laughter. "Does this person even exist?" one of them sneered. "You like Khloe so much, will you really marry someone else? Or is this just another one of your lies?" "Ha ha ha. Maybe the bride is a figment of his imagination. I can't believe Liam is this desperate." Khloe listened to her friends, her brow furrowed. Time was tight, and she didn't want to waste any more words on me. "Liam," she said, her voice sharp with impatience. "I told you I don't want to get married right now. Are you deaf? Do you understand what I'm saying?" She figured that since I loved her so much, she could say whatever she wanted. And later, just buy me something small and sweet-talk me out of my anger. Just like she had for the past 12 years. She had done plenty of unreasonable things, but despite me saying I was mad and leaving, I always came running back in the end. Khloe was eager to have me leave, but no matter what she said, I wouldn't budge. "I hear you, Khloe, but today the person I'm marrying isn't you." She snorted with laughter. "You're lying about that just to pressure me into marrying you, aren't you, Liam? When did you become so irritating? Before I lose my patience, you better leave." She grew more insistent on chasing me away, and with a look, her friends rushed forward to drag me off. These friends were strong, and I was pinned down, unable to move. But I wouldn't leave the courthouse. If I left and my fiancée couldn't see me there later, she would think I didn't want to marry her. Just as I was trying to figure out how to wriggle free from their hold, a voice rang out. "Stop!" I flinched and turned my head. The newcomer wasn't Sophia, the woman I intended to marry, but Ethan. Dressed in a suit, he walked up to Khloe. She was just about to speak when he brushed past her and headed straight toward me. Reaching me, Ethan gave me a hard slap across the face. "Liam, I can't believe how shameless you are. You like my wife so much that we can't shake you off like a clingy little pug. You knew we were getting married today, and you still came here to disrupt things at the courthouse, huh?" Held tightly by Khloe's friends, I couldn't get free and had to endure his slap. My ear buzzed, and I felt a trickle of blood at the corner of my mouth. Looking up at Ethan's venomous face, I sneered. "Your wife? Who's your wife?" He looked bewildered. "You have to be kidding. Of course, my wife is—" Khloe stepped in quickly, interrupting him. "Enough. Hurry and get Liam out of here. It's disgraceful to cause a scene at the courthouse." After she finished speaking, she once more signaled her friends to hurry up and take me away. Seeing her signal, they held on to me tightly and were about to drag me off. However, just as they turned to lead me away, I spoke again. "Khloe, you don't want to marry me at 30 because you're marrying Ethan, right?" Once I said that, everyone except for Ethan froze. Khloe hadn't expected that I already knew she was marrying him. At that moment, connecting my odd behavior lately, she finally realized that I had known all along. No wonder I didn't wash her designer clothes by hand anymore. No wonder I kept dodging writing the tender applications for her. A slight panic hit her heart, but she quickly calmed herself down. Even if I knew she was marrying Ethan, so what? I had loved her for 12 whole years, given my entire youth to her. That kind of affection doesn't just vanish overnight. She just had to give me a little sweetness. Promise me that I could still be by her side, even if she was with Ethan. Given my love for her, I would surely go for that. Thinking about that, Khloe refocused and said calmly to me, "I'll explain this to you later. Just be a good boy and go home for now." I suddenly laughed. a sound that made Khloe's skin crawl. "Even at this point, Khloe, you're still trying to deceive me." Before she could respond, Ethan spoke up first. "What did Khloe lie to you about? You're just taking advantage of the fact that you and she grew up together. That's why you think you can just keep hanging around. But let me tell you, Liam, Khloe loves me the most. I'm the one she wants to marry. So give up on your delusions. You're just a pathetic guy. No matter how long you try, Khloe will never like you. Right, Khloe?" After speaking, he looked at her expectantly. She felt her scalp tighten under his gaze. If she said no, Ethan would definitely cause trouble later. If she said yes, then what about me? Oh well, I was definitely easier to deal with than Ethan. So Khloe nodded and said, "That's right." Even though I already knew how she felt, hearing her say it out loud was still harsh. I struggled to keep my emotions in check and asked calmly, "Is that truly how you feel?" Listening to my calm voice, Khloe felt that something was off. But then she thought, "I've loved her for so long, I just can't handle the shock. Once she and Ethan get their paperwork done today, she'll explain everything to me." Today was about Ethan. She couldn't let him be upset. So, looking directly into my eyes, she quietly replied, "Yes, that's truly how I feel." Hearing her admit it, my laugh turned bitter. But at least now everything was clear. There wouldn't be any misunderstandings when I got married. "Are you done asking questions?" she said, her urgency obvious. "If so, leave already. Don't hold up Ethan and me from getting our papers." She just wanted me gone. Fueled by an unknown strength, I suddenly pushed away those who were holding me and insisted, "I'm not leaving. Khloe, I've made it very clear. I'm not marrying you. My fiancé and I agreed that on my 30th birthday she would meet me at the registry to marry me." "Still making stuff up," Ethan scoffed, his rage building. "I've never seen a guy as shameless as you." Just then, a commotion arose outside the registry. Everyone turned to see a line of luxury cars pulling up in front, with a Rolls-Royce in the middle flying a distinctive flag. It was clear that whoever owned this car was not just wealthy but incredibly powerful. Moments later, the driver opened the door of the main car, and out stepped an elegant, dignified woman. I knew it was her. It was Sophia, the woman I was going to marry. Khloe quickly pulled me back. "Liam, what are you doing? Know your place. That woman clearly belongs to high society." Though Khloe was a billionaire, she wasn't at the top of the food chain in a city like this. "Why are you getting involved? What if you offend someone powerful?" Having grown up together, I quickly understood her thoughts. "That's my fiancée," I said calmly. "Isn't it normal that I go to meet her?" "Come on, when did you meet someone like her?" Khloe laughed, a sound laced with disbelief. "Stop dreaming, Liam. You're just a low-level assistant at Aura Innovations. She wouldn't even look at you, even if you're going to pretend you should find someone more believable." The woman had arrived with a fleet of cars, and she was sporting a rare watch, a custom-made piece from Vacheron Constantin. As a woman who appreciated luxury herself, Khloe knew she couldn't even come close to matching that. Why would such a figure care for a man like me? The thought made things crystal clear for Khloe. She was now certain that there really wasn't a fiancé. I was just trying to provoke her. After all these years, who else could I possibly marry? Ethan, observing Sophia, had an idea to humiliate me further. "Liam, if you claim that woman is your fiancé, then go on, bring her over." Khloe began to intervene, but Ethan stopped her. "Khloe, Liam has already said he's marrying someone else. Don't get in his way." The others laughed, too. "Yeah, Liam said that important lady is his fiancée. Let's see him do it." "Ha ha ha. He'll probably get thrown out by the bodyguards before he even gets close." "That's the biggest joke I've heard all year. After chasing after Khloe for all these years, now he's claiming someone like that is his fiancée." I realized they were all mocking me, expecting me to be utterly humiliated. But they were about to be disappointed. I was indeed Sophia's fiancé. As I got closer to Sophia, the others smirked, waiting for the drama to unfold. Seeing me reach out to her, they thought for sure she would push me away. Yet, to everyone's shock, when I approached and held out my hand, the elegant woman actually took it. Minutes later, Sophia walked with me back to the group. She coolly introduced herself. "Liam mentioned you wanted to meet me. I'm Sophia, Liam's fiancée." Sophia didn't extend her hand to any of them, retaining an air of untouchable authority. But no one questioned it. She clearly had the clout to back it up. Suddenly, those who had been expecting a show were frozen in place. No one had anticipated that the rejected, pathetic me would have a fiancé who was so much more prestigious and powerful than Khloe. Khloe's easy smile froze on her face. She felt an inexplicable panic rising in her chest. Hadn't I been devoted to her for all these years? How could I suddenly move on and plan to marry another woman? When did I meet someone so significant? The joy she had felt from the thought of marrying her beloved Ethan vanished completely. She felt choked up. I had always been like her shadow, always there. She had never imagined that I would actually marry someone else. Even when I had said it, she had thought it was just a ploy. Standing beside Sophia, Ethan wasn't contemplating things as deeply as Khloe. He just felt that Sophia wasn't just beautiful. She was surprisingly wealthy, too. I had actually managed to snag such a big shot as my fiancé. Thinking about it made him a bit envious. He reached out his hand to Sophia, saying, "Hi, I'm Ethan. Nice to meet you." Finally meeting my legendary fiancé up close, Ethan found Sophia even more attractive than he had imagined. She not only had power and money, but was also blessed with incredible looks. Her eyes were captivating, with a high nose and thin lips, a face that looked like it was carved from stone. Her skin was fair, and her features were striking. Even someone as stunning as Khloe paled in comparison when standing beside her. Sophia was born into a wealthy family and held a high position in society. She was already familiar with all sorts of flattering tactics from men. To her, Ethan wasn't even in her league, and his little tricks and hidden flattery were easy for her to spot. She didn't shake his hand, not even sparing him a glance, leaving his hand hanging awkwardly in the air. Ethan's smile froze, and he withdrew his hand awkwardly, mumbling, "Sorry, I was just curious about how Liam suddenly got a fiancé and wanted to meet you." Khloe, seeing her beloved man being embarrassed, quickly comforted him with a gentle voice that she had never used in front of me. Instinctively, she glanced at me, standing beside Sophia. She thought I would be jealous, maybe even explode and shout that enough was enough. Maybe I would confess that Sophia was just an actress I had hired to try and win her back. But I didn't. I stood quietly next to Sophia, not even casting a single glance in Khloe's direction. I ignored all her comforting words to Ethan, acting as if I genuinely didn't care about her anymore. Sophia didn't want to waste any more time. She turned to me. "It's getting late. Let's go get the marriage certificate." I quietly nodded. "All right, everything as you say." With that, I took her arm, and we walked naturally toward the entrance of the marriage office. At that moment, Khloe realized I wasn't faking it. Utterly panicked, she stepped in front of us, disregarding Ethan standing beside her. "Liam!" she cried. "You've liked me for 12 years! How can you just casually marry another woman? Do you even know her background? You think hurting yourself by marrying someone else just because I'm marrying someone is worth it?" She threw question after question at me. I just laughed. I was about to speak, but Sophia cut in, patting my hand gently. "You must be Khloe. Liam mentioned you before we decided to get married. He told me all about you, just as I told him about myself. We know each other's backgrounds, so there's no need for you to worry. And Liam didn't marry me out of spite. He decided to move on from you after careful consideration. You didn't appreciate him, so what's wrong with him pursuing his own happiness? Today is our wedding day, and marrying him is a great fortune for me. I'm in a good mood and don't wish to dwell on these things. But if you continue with this nonsense, don't blame me for being rude." Wendy narrowed her eyes, her gaze sharp and commanding. Everyone present realized she wasn't joking. This stirred a long-lost warmth in my heart. I knew Sophia was standing up for me. A woman I had known for less than a year was standing by my side without any hesitation. In stark contrast, Khloe, who had grown up with me in such a close-knit way, had never once stood by my side, even though I had supported her life and her company tirelessly. I was so thankful that I had stopped the bleeding in time and chosen Sophia. Ignoring the varied expressions around them, Sophia walked hand in hand with me into the office. During the photo session, her cool demeanor softened as she affectionately hugged my waist, her eyes full of love. I beamed, truly eager to make things work with her. The resulting photo on the red background turned out to be incredibly loving and enviable. Meanwhile, Charles and Khloe, who had ended up directly behind us in line, seemed preoccupied and distant. The photographer frowned, tirelessly trying to guide their poses. Eventually, he sighed. "Are you too sure you want to get married? You're not being forced, are you?" Afterward, neither of them looked pleased with their marriage certificate. With my own marriage certificate in hand, I felt something indescribable. It wasn't sadness, but a subtle, profound joy. I was grateful that I had let go of Khloe and married Sophia. I was thankful that I hadn't continued down the wrong path. From afar, Khloe saw the red certificate I held. The sight felt like a sharp pain, a stark reminder of her once confident claim that I would never marry anyone else, now starkly disproven. No matter how she tried, she couldn't grasp why I, after 12 years of unwavering affection, could suddenly give up on her. Was it something she lacked? Aside from not giving me the title of husband, she had been kind to me, hadn't she? A pang of dull pain hit her heart. A gentle grasp from Ethan brought her back to reality. He tried to hold her hand, but she stiffened and refused. After getting their certificate, Sophia and I left together. Watching our receding figures, Khloe's heart felt like it was being squeezed by an iron grip, suffocating her. She wanted to run up and stop me from leaving so many times, but her rationality held her back. She wanted to regret it, but it was too late for that. At least, she thought, even if I was marrying Sophia, I would still be a part of Aura Innovations as an assistant. That thought made her feel a little bit better. Just then, Khloe's phone rang. It was her secretary. "Hey, Khloe, I've taken care of everything you asked for." Hearing that, Khloe remembered that yesterday she had planned a surprise for Ethan, a grand wedding party right after they got their marriage certificate. She should have been happy, marrying the person she loved. But the thought of me leaving her to marry someone else had just ruined it completely. "Khloe, everyone's here. When are you and Ethan coming over?" the secretary urged on the other end. Annoyed, Khloe gave a quick, "Got it," and said she'd bring Ethan over soon. Leaving the registry and arriving at the wedding party took them an hour. When Ethan showed up at the party, everyone realized that Khloe was marrying Aura Innovations' receptionist. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Am I seeing this right? Khloe's mysterious fiancé is actually Ethan from the front desk? Oh, that's why he was showing off his ring and house deed at work. Khloe gave them to him. Wow, Ethan really hit the jackpot. He became a swan from an ugly duckling. Ethan felt quite smug hearing those whispers. At last he could proudly appear as Khloe's husband. But Khloe, standing next to him, wasn't as happy. She heard the sarcasm in the whispers around them. Suppressing her feelings, she forced a smile and took Ethan to make a toast. She had invited quite a few of her past business partners to the party. She approached a partner in a designer suit, a man around 45 named Mr. Kim. Khloe remembered him well. I had worked tirelessly to win his project, even ending up in the hospital with stomach bleeding from the stress. My dedication had impressed him and secured the first major investment for Aura Innovations. That investment had rejuvenated the company, and the picky executive had come to appreciate me deeply. Now, seeing Khloe holding Ethan's hand, the partner smiled faintly. "Khloe, I always thought you'd marry Liam. He's such a hard worker. When Aura Innovations was just starting, he was the backbone of the entire operation." The executive sipped his drink. He was so deeply devoted. I'll never forget seeing his bloodshot eyes and how he kept pushing himself. For a fresh graduate to work so hard at an unknown company, it was surprising. But later I understood he was staying for someone. He shook his head, a look of disappointment on his face. In the end, it was all for nothing. What he longed for went to someone else. Khloe blushed crimson, silent for a moment before fumbling. "But you know, Liam is marrying someone else today, too." "I bet you broke his heart," Mr. Kim said bluntly. "A man gives his prime years to a woman and only leaves when he's deeply and utterly disappointed." Khloe was speechless. Next to her, Ethan felt belittled and, losing his cool, lashed out at the executive. "Are you sent by Liam? I knew he was shameless. About to get married and still trying to ruin our happiness." "Stop it," Khloe yelled at Ethan, her expression turning dark as she saw the look on Mr. Kim's face. She quickly apologized. "I'm sorry, Mr. Kim. My husband didn't mean it." Before she could finish, Ethan screamed, hitting her. "Why can't I speak? This old man brought up Liam just to insult me. You promised to treat me well forever. Have you changed your mind? You want Liam instead, is that it?" His outbursts were like missiles, turning their wedding party into a publicly embarrassing spectacle. "Labeled as an old man," Mr. Kim sneered, waving his hand dismissively. "Whether your husband meant it or not is clear enough. I may be old, but I'm not blind. I'll be reconsidering any future dealings with Aura Innovations." With that, he ignored Khloe's attempts to stop him and left. Other executives who were close to him exchanged looks and followed him out. The once lively wedding party turned into a cringe-worthy spectacle. Looking at the overbearing Ethan, Khloe felt a wave of exhaustion. She had once admired his simplicity, wanting to protect what she saw as his innocence. Ethan was clumsy, constantly making mistakes, and had no real investment in his work. He couldn't even manage simple tasks like obtaining signatures. But that was fine with Khloe. She never allowed anyone to criticize him, willing to be his shield. She had even placed him at the front desk with very little work, just to ensure he could have a leisurely life, making him Aura Innovations' decorative figurehead. Khloe had always thought I was too savvy, too ambitious, and lacked Ethan's charming naivete. She had disregarded me, taking my love for granted, her promises turning into empty air. At that moment, she couldn't help but think that if she had married me, I would never have caused such a scene at their wedding and made a complete fool of them like this. Ethan asked her if she regretted it, if she wanted to marry me instead. Khloe wasn't sure, but she knew one thing. She no longer felt as strongly about marrying Ethan as she once had. Khloe looked at the wedding venue, now a bit empty from people leaving, and rubbed her temples. She had a splitting headache. Ethan's behavior today had embarrassed Mr. Kim, who had left in anger. Those savvy business partners must have already figured out that the boss of Aura Innovations was a bit out of touch. This wasn't going to be good for the company's growth. Ethan had been sulking, but seeing Khloe's serious face, not trying to cheer him up like she usually did, he got a little scared. After all, Khloe was the best of the many women he had seduced. She was rich, beautiful, easy to fool, and she doted on him. He was so close to marrying into wealth, and he wasn't going to let this big fish go. He quickly put on a tearful act to appease her. "I'm sorry, Khloe. I just care about you too much. I was scared Liam would take you away. That's why I acted like this. You guys grew up as childhood friends, and then that person said all those things. I just feel so insecure. It's my first relationship, and the first time I've loved someone this much. Can you forgive me for anything I messed up? You're all I have, Khloe. I really can't be without you." Khloe was still very frustrated, but she softened at his words. He was still just a college student, young, and it was his first relationship. He loved her too much to think straight. It wasn't on purpose, she thought. She sighed and forgave him. Ethan immediately broke into a smile and snuggled into her arms. "I always knew you were the best to me, Khloe." When she wasn't looking, he gave a satisfied, hidden grin. He knew this trick worked on her every time. From the moment they met, he had been playing the role she liked, and it had successfully pushed me out of her life and won him a spot in her heart. The two of them completed the wedding ceremony smoothly. Ethan wore a triumphant smile. He had finally made it into the upper crust. No one would ever know that he used to be a gigolo. From now on, he would bask in the glory of being the son-in-law of a wealthy family. After everything wrapped up, Khloe returned to her apartment at night, utterly exhausted. The place felt empty, with no trace of me left. She felt a bit dazed. She remembered how lately many of my things had gone missing. When she had asked, I had said they were old and I had thrown them out. Now it seemed they weren't thrown away at all, but had been taken by me. I had known for a while that she wouldn't marry me and had been preparing to leave, but when had I realized? A splash of red on a wedding invitation on the table caught her eye. It felt a bit glaring. Before she could react, Ethan snatched it up, tore it to pieces, and tossed them in the bin. Sounding jealous and annoyed, he asked, "Why are Liam's things still here? A wedding invitation, how tacky. I don't know how that Sophia could be so blind as to like a guy like him." Feeling a bit annoyed herself, Khloe was quickly distracted by Ethan's affection. He wasn't as sweet and innocent as he looked. He was passionate and bold, spouting flirtatious words that made her head spin. His roaming hands overwhelmed her senses before she even moved. With dreamy eyes and heavy breathing, he said, "Khloe, what do you think about trying it in the living room? There's a great view from the floor-to-ceiling window. It would feel more thrilling." They were married now, and Ethan was thinking about satisfying himself further. He had tried this with other women and found it much better than just staying in the bedroom. Afterward, Khloe felt that something was off. Ethan was far too skilled, not at all like a first-timer. He was more like a seasoned player in the art of pleasure. Realizing this, Ethan playfully tried to distract her, but it wasn't enough to quell her suspicions. She decided to find someone reliable to investigate his past, sensing that he wasn't as pure and innocent as he looked. While she was lost in thought, her phone rang. Her new assistant sounded anxious on the other end of the line. "Khloe, tomorrow is the bidding conference, but the client is saying we haven't submitted our proposal yet." "What?" Khloe incredulously raised her voice. "How is that possible? Liam was supposed to handle the proposal, didn't he submit it?" "Liam resigned a while ago," the assistant replied, sounding even more confused. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Khloe shouted. "I wanted to let you know, but Ethan came by to discuss wedding plans," the assistant tried to explain. "Enough!" Khloe cut her off. "There's no use talking about it now. Get in touch with the project lead and get me a proposal ready immediately." There wasn't enough time. Plus, the team lacked experience with that particular project. The rushed proposal was full of errors. As expected, Aura Innovations lost the bid. Furiously, Khloe lashed out at the company, even instituting pay cuts. This bred deep resentment among the staff. Could she really blame them for the failed bid? With such last-minute orders, it was a miracle they had managed to write anything at all. Getting the bid would have been a miracle. Wasn't this just an issue with the boss's management? Now, it was all getting blamed on them. They were all thinking, if only Khloe hadn't been so busy flirting with Ethan and ignoring the company's business, and if she hadn't pushed me away, would things have turned out like this? Some of the more strong-willed tech staff had already quit, while the rest were just sticking around while they looked for new jobs. But Khloe hadn't realized how serious the problem was. She just thought, if they want to leave, let them leave. The company won't stop running just because a few people left. Since she was able to build up Aura Innovations from nothing, she figured her leadership and project instincts were solid. So she lost this project. Well, she could always work on other projects, but she didn't think about how much I had helped her with everything before. We used to discuss project strategy together. Now, without me, her flaws in management were showing in a big way. To prove herself and make up for the lost project, Khloe quickly invested in a new one. She barely did any due diligence, though. Her rush to succeed cost Aura Innovations a huge chunk of money, even putting the company's cash flow in jeopardy. In her frenzy to fix things, Ethan wasn't sympathetic at all. He just kept asking for luxury gifts. His demands escalated with her indulgence, from designer bags to limited edition sports cars, and later, expensive auction jewelry. With the company's finances so tight, every alert from her credit card made Khloe's head throb. She even tried talking to him, asking him to cut back on the spending, explaining the company's crisis. Luxuries were not necessities right now, she argued. But Ethan only called her cheap and whined that his spending wasn't a big deal for a company as big as Aura Innovations. He never cooked. Every time Khloe came home, he would just have her order takeout. When she came home late from work events, she would find him snoring peacefully. If he caught a whiff of the smoke or booze on her, he would wrinkle his nose in disgust, annoyed that she had interrupted his sleep by getting home so late. In this draining, exhausting life, Khloe began to feel regret more vehemently than ever. When I was around, the house was always full of the smell of home-cooked food. I would hand her a plate and say, "Try this, Khloe. It's your favorite. You've worked hard today. Eat up. Homemade is cleaner than takeout, especially with your sensitive stomach." When she was hammered from work events, there was always a light left on for her. Walking inside, she would find me looking tired, but always smiling, heading to the kitchen to make her some hangover soup. Back then, she had thought I was overdoing it, nagging her like some fussy housekeeper. But now, she could see how deeply ingrained my love for her had been, consistent and unwavering, day in and day out. Khloe's eyes misted over. She really, really missed me. Meanwhile, over in New Zealand, I was living happily post-marriage. Sophia was cold and commanding to others, but she was always caring and attentive to me. Anything I took a liking to would show up the next day. Even things I had mentioned just in passing, things I would forget myself, were etched in her memory. She would fulfill any wish I had, from the latest runway styles and custom luxury cars to pricey auction jewels, all given to me just for my joy. Her entire estate was full of roses, planted just for me, meticulously tended to by a full-time staff. A Michelin 5-star chef handled our meals because Sophia didn't want me to be tired from cooking. When I did cook occasionally, she would savor every single bite, showering me with praise and gently kissing my forehead, calling me hard-working. Sophia kept me informed whenever she had to leave. She would spend her free time with me, whether it was reading or shopping, purely to be in my company. Sophia was everything Khloe wasn't. She saw and appreciated my every effort and gave me the security and sense of occasion I had always needed. Our love was like a fairy tale that others envied. In this relationship, I finally felt the warmth of love starting to heal my old scars. Khloe was already feeling regretful about her marriage, but a file from a private investigator about Ethan sent her regrets skyrocketing. The envelope contained revealing photos and detailed paperwork. The photos were so explicit, one might think they were stills from an adult movie. The lead role featured her seemingly naive, newly wedded husband, Ethan. In them, he was tangled up with various women looking seductive and scandalous, and the papers, they made it clear that Ethan wasn't a blank slate, but rather a tabloid unto himself, realizing that she had thrown away me, a man who had loved her wholeheartedly for over a decade, for this corrupt and deceitful man, and had almost bankrupted her company because of it. Khloe felt like she could vomit blood. She found Ethan right away and threw all the photos in his face. Of course, he wouldn't admit it. He looked hurt and said to her, "Khloe, who gave you these photos? They're fake, obviously photoshopped. You know my background. Do you really think I'd do something like this?" But the evidence was undeniable, and Ethan had nothing left to say. Unable to wait any longer, Khloe immediately had a lawyer draft a divorce agreement. Naturally, Ethan would leave with nothing. They both signed the divorce papers, and the next day, they went to the Civil Affairs Bureau for their divorce certificate. Just when Ethan was over the moon about receiving a hefty settlement, he was knocked out by people Khloe had sent. When he came to, he found himself in the dirtiest nightclub in the city. There, people had all sorts of ways to torture others, and most of those who went there had a taste for tormenting others. Khloe coldly smirked. This was the ending she had arranged for him. After all this, Khloe started to really miss me. She missed having me by her side every day. She missed my smile. She missed my tenderness. So she started secretly searching for me. No matter what, even if she had to search to the ends of the earth, she was determined to find me. She hadn't kept her promise to marry me by the time I turned 30, but now she knew what she wanted. She was divorced from Ethan, and she would apologize to me. After 12 years of feelings, if she apologized, she believed I would forgive her and come back. A few days later, her assistant finally found news about me. After getting our certificate, Sophia had taken me to New Zealand. When Khloe got the news, she immediately booked a flight. Landing there, Khloe hadn't slept a wink or eaten anything. She raced to the estate where I was living. On the way, she felt both excited and nervous, like she was on a roller coaster. But as soon as she got to the estate, she was stopped by armed guards. Frustrated and helpless, Khloe was determined to see me today. Just as she was about to try and push her way through, a familiar figure appeared. Khloe recognized him immediately. It was me. "Liam!" she shouted excitedly. She had imagined all kinds of reactions I might have. Heartache, anger, tears. But what she didn't expect was my calmness. A calm so profound it felt like a distance, like I was seeing a complete stranger. Khloe's heart sank, filling with a dense bitterness. I walked towards her with elegant, unhurried steps. "Why are you here?" I asked, my voice still expressionless. "Shouldn't you be with Ethan?" I was treating her like someone completely insignificant. Mentioning Ethan, my former rival, brought no emotion to my face either. Khloe could have dealt with me yelling at her, even hitting her, but she couldn't handle this indifference. It meant that I no longer cared at all. She forced a smile, but it looked worse than crying. "Liam, I've divorced Ethan. Can we talk alone for a minute?" When I approached, I didn't dismiss the guards or the staff. Khloe longed for privacy. She wanted to openly express her feelings and regret to me. Without a thought, I refused her request. "I don't think there's anything for us to talk about. Your divorce from Ethan has nothing to do with me." "Please, I have something important to say," she pleaded desperately, for the first time in her life, humbling herself in front of me. I found it deeply ironic. If I were the old me, crazily in love with her, willing to give anything for her, I might have agreed to her plea. "Enough," I said, my voice tinged with annoyance. "Stop saying you love me, It makes me sick. Khloe, if you have any remorse at all, don't seek me out. Your presence only reminds me of those awful memories from the past. Let's go our separate ways peacefully. Never seeing each other again is the best outcome for both of us. Overwhelmed with fear, Khloe's last glimmer of hope faded. Crying, she begged for my forgiveness. Liam, please don't be so cruel to me. Hit me, yell at me. Do anything you want to vent your anger. But I don't want to be strangers with you. Before I could reply, the sound of a car interrupted us. A woman stepped out, as graceful and noble as when Khloe had first seen her. Compared to her, Khloe seemed unkempt. A night of traveling had left her suit wrinkled, clinging to her like limp salad. Kneeling on the ground, she resembled a pitiful dog stripped of all its dignity. The stark contrast wounded her pride, filling her with shame. Humiliated in front of her rival, her face burned crimson, and yet her rival looked down at her as if she were nothing but an ant. The obvious affection between us was like a knife stabbing into Khloe's heart, twisting and causing her unbearable pain. She even found it hard to breathe. Sophia only then seemed to notice Khloe, looking down at her from her great height. "And who is this?" she asked. Stammering, Khloe finally said, I came to see Liam." Sophia, amused as if she had just heard a joke, replied, "What do you want with my husband?" Persistently, Khloe repeated, "I came to see Liam." Sophia got what she meant without her having to say it. Basically, Khloe didn't want to admit that I was now her husband. That made it all the more amusing for Sophia. Wasn't Khloe the one who used to hate me? Even when I gave my all for her, standing by her side for 12 years, she had felt nothing but annoyed, calling me a clingy lapdog. As far as Sophia knew, Khloe's heart had belonged to Ethan, not me. Faced with these undeniable facts, Khloe had no defense. She could only offer her biggest token in a futile attempt to salvage a sliver of hope for their relationship. "I was blind before," she confessed, her voice thick with emotion, "but I know now that Liam is the only one I love. I realize I've hurt him and done him wrong, but I want to make it up to him with the time I have left." "Make it up to him?" Sophia shook her head, looking at Khloe like she was a child being unreasonable. "The pain he endured, you can't repay it. How do you make up for 12 years filled with heartache? 12 years of giving you all his love? Did you know he drank himself sick to help you secure investments in the early years, damaging his stomach and causing irreversible harm to his health? His stomach still acts up from time to time, leaving him in agony, sweating cold, rolling in bed. Did you know how he felt when he learned you were going to marry Ethan? The breakdown, the torment? He endured it all silently, watching you show Ethan the gentleness and favoritism he never received, slowly giving up through the stabbing pain in his heart." Sophia's words hit Khloe like a sledgehammer, striking her straight in the heart. She left the estate in a daze. She returned home looking like a drowned rat. Once back, Khloe couldn't focus on her business. She spent her nights and days drinking, struggling with insomnia, Sophia's words echoing in her mind. She would whisper my name in the dark. She lived like the walking dead. Then one day, a wild-eyed, battered man stabbed her in the heart. That crazy man was Ethan. He laughed maniacally and stabbed her repeatedly. Watching her blood gush out, he said with satisfaction, "Die, Khloe. This is your karma." As her consciousness faded, Khloe thought in a daze, "Yeah, this is my karma. The consequences of trampling on genuine feelings." She wasn't scared of dying alone and with nothing. She had nothing left to lose. She just missed me. She really, really missed me. In a blurry moment, Khloe seemed to see me at 18, smiling at her, so bright and shy. "Khloe, if you want to go to that college, I'll go with you. Anyway, it's not like I must go to a specific college." This time, in her final thoughts, Khloe didn't casually dismiss my heartfelt confession. Instead, she imagined taking my hand and saying, "Okay, Liam, but it doesn't have to be that one. If you want to go to a different college, I can go with you there." When the news of Khloe's death reached me, I didn't go back home. There was nothing left between us. Later on, Sophia and I had 2 children. In our calm and warm life, I had long forgotten the 12 years I had devoted to a woman named Khloe. I was content with my life now. The road ahead was long, and I wanted to grow old happily with Sophia.